Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shadow at Night. This is Tuesday, July the 30th, 2024, and on the show tonight, the photo of the pooper from Brampton, Ontario. Well, in case you haven't seen it, let me throw this up on the screen here quickly so you can. The Indian, presumably recent Indian from the country of India, immigrant, pooping at a gas station in Brampton, Ontario. Here's the photo. Oh, wait. That's... That's not the photo. That's the brand new Canadian $50 bill. All right, that's a gag. But apparently, according to the owner of that gas station in Brampton, who also happens to be an ex-Liberal MP, that photo has been doctored. That photo is not real. So we're going to explore that with a story from TNC.News True North in just a moment. I have a special announcement to make. And that is this. As I spent the day talking on the phone to different people, by the way, next Monday night, as a guest on the show, we're going to have Melanie Bennett. Now, Melanie is an associate of Kelly Peary from dtranscanada.com, who was on the show last Thursday night. And Melanie is an incredibly knowledgeable person in the field of critical race theory, in the field of neo-Marxism, in the field of queer theory. And we had a fantastic conversation this afternoon. So she's coming on the show Monday night. And then next Thursday night, we're going to have Emily Duggan on the show of Nelson, British Columbia. Emily and her small group in Nelson, Moms Against Madness, I think it's called. She, with that group, got a drag queen story time canceled at the public library in Nelson quite recently, and we had a conversation, Emily and I, this afternoon. She will be coming on the show next Thursday night. So again, next Monday night, it's going to be Melanie Bennett, and then next Thursday night, it's going to be Emily Duggan. Both those shows you should mark on your calendar because it's going to give us some unique insight as to why these people do what they do, think what they think, and try to maim the children. Why they put on shows like they did over the weekend at the Olympics for all the world to see. I mean, I think that was a very dark and disturbing display, but I also think that it was probably the best thing to happen to Christianity in quite some time. I think it woke a lot of Christians up. The other announcement I want to make is that tonight, my mind is not there. My mind is just not there. I am completely... And so I'm taking the rest of the week off. So that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I need a break, guys. It's too much. And I haven't had a break in a very long time, and I certainly hope you respect that decision. I know there's all kinds of people who may be pointing a finger and calling me lazy right now because it's happened. And yes, I have been getting a lot of angry emails from people in the last couple of days over this, that, and the other things I've said. And everything that hits you eventually can get to you in a weakened state. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm obviously not performing at my best. And so I need some time to just recharge. And that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the week and the weekend. I will be back on Monday night, and we'll carry on from there. In the meantime, we haven't had any new subscribers on shadowdavis.com in quite some time. Now, backstage at that website for all access pass holders, there is a slew of content that you can only get there. There are nights where we go an extra hour longer on the extension on shadowdavis.com. When you subscribe, you are supporting this show, and you are helping me to continue doing this show. If you choose to not, that's fine. what I ask, the next best thing that you can do is like and share this show. Get this out to as many people as you possibly can. So if you're watching on Facebook tonight, like Kathy and Miguel and Terry and Julie and Robert and David and Maida, please like and share this show. That's also not been happening lately. People have just been going, whatever, somebody else is going to do it. And that's the attitude that's been pervasive, I think, for the past few years. People just sitting back waiting. One thing I'm going to say to you, you might not like, but I'm going to say anyway. Enough with the anonymity. Enough with the fake names on social media. But I've got to protect my job. I've got to protect my family. You know what? With that attitude, we are never going to accomplish anything. Never. So you see Bob Freedom, or you see Mary Sovereign, and there's never a picture of these people. There's always a picture of God, Jesus, a cat, a piece of pie, a tree, a cactus, something like that. And that completely and totally takes away any credibility, anything that you post says. No matter if it's the best post, the best thing in the world, because people don't see that account as a real individual. They see it as an AI bot. They're not going to pay any attention to it. They're just going to say, just another right-wing extremist conspiracy theory nut bar. So we need to stop hiding behind these fake names and fake photos and put our real faces and names out there. We have to. Now, people are saying to me right now, Shadow Davis isn't your real name. Shadow Davis is the name that I have been going by since 1988. I've been going by this name longer than my actual given name, which is Dale. You guys know this, and if you don't, all you have to do is write down in a Google search bar, Shadow Davis real name. It's the first thing that comes up. I'm not hiding from anything. And neither should any of you. It's time we all stand up and say, that's enough. All right? That's just, it might be frustration talking right now. And it might be a little bit of exhaustion talking right now as well, because I've been thinking this for a while and trying to figure out a very nice way to say it. But I haven't been able to come up with it yet. And so I thought tonight I'm just going to throw this out there, and hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying here. Anonymity doesn't work. That's what the other side does. They hide behind masks and sunglasses and hoods. We can't do that anymore. And if your boss says, "What are you doing posting all this stuff?" Hey, that's my private social media. That is my social media. It has nothing to do with you. All right? And keep in mind as well, let's keep it polite on social media. Let's make sure we need to be nice. You're going to attract more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. That's been an expression that and yeah, I know we get frustrated sometimes. All of us do, and angry, and we want to lash out and yell and scream. And I've done that. I get it. I understand. But we need to be, especially with the things we say on social media. Right? There's a nice way to say it and then a terrible way to say it. If you say it in a nice way, nobody can ever challenge you anyhow on anything. You say, this is what I think. I didn't call anybody names. I wasn't rude. What's your problem? Oh, I see. You want to fire me for my political views. Well, then I'm just going to take you to court. That's the way it is. And until we change that cancel culture, which is the very beginnings of this neo-Marxist revolution we're going through right now, suffering through right now, we're never gonna win. We have to start coming out from the shadows, so to speak, and we need to start standing up for ourselves and for the people who have been standing up for all of us for the past 3 or 4 years now. Is COVID making a comeback? Probably not, but bird flu might. We have a story coming up on that a little bit later on. The Shadow at Night live stream is brought to you by Canada Nano Silver, CanadaNanoSilver.ca. The Immune Gummies simplify your daily immune support with convenient and delicious Nano Silver Immune Gummies. Each serving contains powerful triple-action Nano Silver, elderberry, vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D3. This will help supercharge your immune system. Safe and proven Nano Silver works alongside your body's own immune system to help you stay healthy and strong for everything that life throws at you. This and all of the other fantastic products are available at CanadaNanoSilver.ca. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.ca. Shop now. There's the Shop Now button. If you want a retail location, hit the Retail Locations button right here on the website. There are over 30 all across Canada and growing all the time. And if you want to become a retailer of these awesome products, then get a hold of Kevin and Anna through the contact tab at CanadaNanoSilver.ca. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.ca. On Rumble, please give this a thumbs up, guys. Let's help get it out there to the 100 million strong Rumble community. And if you're watching on X tonight, it's a repost and a heart. Where else? Telegram, we're streaming live to tonight. And of course, ShadowDavis.com. The all access crowd is watching there right now. Let's lead off tonight's extravaganza with this. Ex-Liberal MP claims viral photo of man seemingly defecating at Brampton gas pump. It's fake. Well, you're thinking, wait a minute, how would he know if it's fake, this guy, this ex-Liberal MP? How did he actually see the guy doing this and then compared that with the photo and said, that's not what he was doing? Did he actually see any video footage? Did he go through, scour his video footage to see if this man was actually doing that? Look, there's Justin Trudeau. A viral photo of a man apparently defecating in front of a gas pump in Brampton is sparking outrage online, while some are calling the image a fake. What? Former Liberal MP Raj Grewal, who claimed to own the property in the photo, says the image is fabricated as the incident it purports to show never happened. There's Raj right there on his X account. I own this property. This did not, in capitals, happen. It's photoshopped. All right? As Harrison Faulkner was originally the one to share that photo on his X account. And there's the post right there from Raj Grewal himself. When asked to provide proof by users on social media, including Harrison, he didn't respond. Raj. The photo of the turban-wearing man squatting with his pants down while holding a coffee cup underneath him was taken at K2 Mart at 35 Cherry Crest Drive in Brampton. A worker at the K2 Mart told True North over the phone that he doesn't know anything about the incident, doesn't have any access to security cameras, couldn't provide the contact information of the owner, who would have that access. When asked if Grewal was prepared to provide security camera footage or any other proof that the image was altered using AI or Photoshop, Grewal did not respond to those requests. Several commenters on X claiming experience in Photoshop said there are no telltale signs of the image being doctored. It's impossible to say definitively whether or not the image is altered in any way without the metadata of the original photo. So find us the metadata of the original photo. Anybody find it? And then we can tell for sure. However, several AI detection sites like ChatGTP and AI and Fake Image Detector, Is It AI and Fake Image Detector say no errors were found in the photo, indicating nope, no alteration here. A site called Photo Forensics also shows that there are no obvious signs of manipulation of that photo. ChatGPT says the image doesn't have obvious signs of being AI generated and appears to be a genuine photograph. Many are pointing at the reflections in the image, saying lighting and reflections are difficult to replicate in Photoshop. And if the image was doctored, the artist would have to possess a skill worthy of Hollywood movies. Others point to the reflections and come to the opposite conclusion, saying, well, the reflection shows a man standing where he's squatting in the photo. Others say the man's complexion doesn't match his supposed country of origin. Baz News.org called the image disinformation, though the only source provided was Grewal confirming the incident never happened. Does Raj Grewal sit at this K2 Mart 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to make sure that Indian men are not defecating in coffee cups in his parking lot? No sleep, just on the watch all the time. Hey, no defecating on my parking lot. Probably not. And he hasn't responded. I mean, look at, man, if you say the image is false, then prove it. Prove it. Greenwald left the Liberal caucus in 2018 to deal with a gambling problem and underwent an RCMP investigation for fraud and breach of trust charges. However, a judge dismissed all charges against him due to lack of evidence from the Crown against him. And that is so. The mystery of the pooping Indian man is still unresolved at this stage of the game. The mystery of Justin Trudeau, still unsolved at this stage of the game. Justin Trudeau still claims to be running in the next election, presumably for Prime Minister. So, he's called 2 by-elections, one in Quebec for September, one in Manitoba for September. This is a great editorial piece written by Tasha Corridon of the National Post. We're going to skip the first part of it here because we know all about it. It's about the by-election loss in Toronto, St. John's, last month that completely humiliated the Liberals because that's a longtime Liberal stronghold, and more so completely humiliated Justin Trudeau. So the one by-election of the 2 is going to be in LaSalle, Verdun, Emard. That's on the island of Montreal. Next month, make that September. Sorry, I don't want to rush things along. Summer is short. Until January, the riding was represented by former Justice Minister David Lametti, who last won by 20 points in 2021. But a Main Street poll published on July 9th showed the Liberals at 29%. Remember, this is the island of Montreal, so if you think the Conservatives are going to show up in the top 3, forget about it. The island of Montreal, they do not perform well for some reason. Liberals at 29%, the Blocs at 26%, the NDPs at 25%, the Conservatives are at 14%. The poll was taken before the naming of Municipal Councillor Laura Palestini as the Liberal candidate, a move that caused considerable controversy in the local riding association after she was handpicked by Trudeau without a nomination contest. The NDP is running Craig Sauvé, a councillor and musician, while the Bloc is fielding political staffer Louis-Philippe Sauvé. No relation. The fact the Liberals were willing to short-circuit the democratic process paradoxically underscores the importance they ascribe to this race. They know the other parties will throw everything they have at LaSalle, Emard, Verdun. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is already there campaigning with Sauvé. The Liberals can't afford to lose because the riding is a double referendum on Trudeau, both as leader and as a Quebecer. If he can't pull off a win in his home province, and by the way, Trudeau's riding is Papineau, right? That's on the island of Montreal as well. Maybe he loses his own riding in the next election if it keeps up this way for the Liberals. If he can't win, if they can't win on the island of Montreal, they could be reduced to a rump party. Quite literally. When we say rump party, we're talking about not even having official party status, which in the federal government, I believe, is 12 seats. The NDP and the Conservatives have a lot on the line as well. If the NDP pulls off an upset in Quebec, they'll be seen as giant killers. However, they also need to defend Elmwood-Transcona to deflect a blue wave that threatens to eat into their blue-collar base in Manitoba and across the country. Pierre Poilievre was just in Winnipeg on the weekend in that riding, campaigning with the new candidate. The NDP has held Elmwood-Transcona under 2 generations of Blakeys, Father Bill, son Daniel, almost continuously since 1988. The Tories usually place second. It's kind of a provincial, it's looked at as a provincial, like the provincial politics of Manitoba are pretty much 2 parties, and that's the Progressive Conservatives and the NDP, with the Liberals distant third. So that's the way this riding generally plays out federally. Now, the Conservatives are going after this riding with a vengeance. Pierre Poilievre, again, 1,000 people were at this rally over the weekend. The party is dubbing the by-election a mini carbon tax referendum. They're keeping the focus on the unpopular Liberals. The Tories are also taking aim at the NDP supply and confidence deal that's kept the Liberals in power, which, according to Conservative candidate Colin Reynolds, does not represent union workers like me. He's an electrician, proud union member, and his candidacy is clearly designed to cement the Tories' growing popularity amongst union voters. Unions, by the way, are the root of all evil when it comes to this divisive neo-Marxism doctrine that we have been suffering through for the past 4 years. You're going to hear more about that next week. So the by-elections are coming up in September, and I cannot wait to see the results. Not so much in the Winnipeg one, but definitely in the Montreal one. Lauren Gunter, one of my favorite people with Post Media, understanding that Post Media is still part of the left-wing corporate media. Lauren Gunter is a part-time guy. He's a part-time contributor to Post Media, says what he wants pretty much. And here's his take on the actual cause behind the fires in Jasper.
In the coming weeks, you're going to hear an awful lot about how climate change caused the devastating fire in Jasper last week. Don't believe a word of it. Already there are liberal MPs and environmentalists who've been saying, see, this is what happens when we don't get our emissions under control. We need electric vehicles, we need wind turbines, we need solar panels, we need heat pumps instead of furnaces. That's not what caused it. What caused this was woke environmentalism at Parks Canada. For nearly 25 years, Parks Canada has been refusing to thin out dead trees in Jasper. By last year, 44% of all the trees in Jasper have been killed by a mountain pine beetle infestation. And Parks Canada just let them stand there. They were like giant matchsticks, going on for kilometer after kilometer. Environment Canada and Parks Canada had thinned out about 1.6 hectares of the forest. And there were tens of thousands of hectares that were affected. So what they did was largely useless. They promised that they would plant 520,000 new trees. They planted a few thousand, under 10,000 by some counts. The Liberals just aren't very good at planting trees, apparently. They promised, of course, in 2019 they would plant 2 billion across the country, and they've so far planted maybe 40 million. But that's not the point. The point is that Parks Canada was told again and again and again, first by the Alberta government, then by its own conservation scientists, by the mayor of Jasper, by professional foresters that they hired to evaluate the forest at Jasper. They were told again and again and again that a mega fire was coming if they didn't do something to get rid of all of the dead trees in Jasper. And they did nothing. I think the kicker, though, came this week when it was discovered that an internal report prepared for Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault said that Jasper was a particular problem, that Parks Canada acknowledged it had done nothing or next to nothing to mitigate the fire risk. And going forward, its new parks plan should focus on that. But they knew that for nearly a quarter of a century, they had done nothing. And that's why when the fire struck last week, the forest in Jasper burst into flames, huge flames. At one point, the firefighters estimated that the wall of fire going at the town site was 100 meters tall, 300 to 400 feet tall. And the other thing that Parks Canada did, so it ignored all of these warnings, it also didn't ask for Alberta's help in fighting these fires. Alberta has a lot of experience fighting wildfires. For instance, Alberta has night vision firefighting capacity, so they can fight 24 hours a day. Parks Canada can't fight at night. So as soon as it got dark, Parks Canada had to stop fighting the fires coming to Jasper. Alberta has this technology that allows them to throw up huge walls of water in front of huge walls of fire and prevent fires from advancing as quickly. Parks Canada didn't ask for that help. They were told, as I said, again and again and again, that they had to deal with these standing trees. 44% of the forest in Jasper was dead trees. They had to do something about that, and they didn't. And that's why, when the fire struck last week, it was so utterly devastating. For Post Media, I'm Lauren Gunter.
Yeah, it's all planned. It's all planned. This psyop that's going on in Venezuela right now, something about this really bothers me, you guys. Because yesterday on the show, I played video of Chrystia Freeland talking about how devastated she is that this is happening in Venezuela, that there's a possibility of election fraud, and Kamala Harris and the left-leaning Democratic Party in the United States, we're all talking about this as well, Chuck Schumer in the Senate. And we know that these people have doctored elections before themselves, and now they're concerned about election doctoring in Venezuela? So they say they're going to look into it. The international community is very, very concerned. We'll get into that. This story comes from The Guardian. Maduro's exit inevitable, says Venezuela opposition leader as election protests grow. We have some video to play for you from the streets of Caracus in just a couple of minutes. You guys are not going to believe the amount of people. Maria Corina Machado says president should understand he lost the vote amid international doubts over victory claim. Story goes, the opposition leader battling to bring the curtain down on Nicolas Maduro's authoritarian regime has urged the Venezuelan strongman to accept that his exit from power is inevitable. The call came as thousands of protesters hit the streets to repudiate Maduro's disputed claim to have won a third term in power. Remember last night, Maduro came on, or was it the night before? He came on national television claiming victory, even as his thugs, his personal guard thugs, were forcibly shutting down voting stations all across the country. Venezuela's incumbent president was officially proclaimed the victor of Sunday's election by the government-controlled electoral authority on Monday morning. Maduro called his supposed victory irreversible, despite widespread international doubts over the veracity of his claim to have beaten the opposition candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia, and his campaigning partner, the conservative activist Maria Corina Machado. Later on Monday, Gonzalez and Machado said they could prove their victory after obtaining 73.2% of the voting tallies from polling stations, the official records that show the number of votes cast by the time each polling station closes. Speaking to The Guardian, Machado urged the president to come to terms with the end of his 11-year rule, during which Venezuela fell into a devastating economic and humanitarian crisis that's forced millions to flee abroad. He should understand that he was defeated, she said of Maduro, who was democratically elected after the 2013 death of his mentor, President Hugo Chavez, but has since taken Venezuela in an increasingly repressive and anti-democratic direction. Let's just call it communism. It falls short of totalitarianism, but not by much. If he is successful, then we have a full-on dictator, a full-on totalitarian regime. Successful meaning staying in power. And apparently he is being helped by private militias from all across South America. That's what we're hearing right now. I have no confirmation of that. Machado rejected Maduro's earlier claim that his re-election was irreversible. I would say his departure is irreversible, she said. Okay, getting to the video of what's going on in the streets of Caracas right now. Packed to the brim, protesters out to support opposition leader Maria Corina Machado during her first major speech since the election. Let's go ahead and play this. Look at that crowd. That's insane. And play it again. Okay, now here's a question for you. Do you think, and this is something that occurred to me earlier this afternoon as I was sitting in a daze on my couch. David Putty from Seinfeld. Yeah, that's right. That's how I was looking this afternoon. By the way, thank you for the compliments on the new background. That is a prairie sunset, my friends, with storm clouds a-brewing. What if what's going on in Venezuela right now is a trial balloon for a larger psyop in America? Think about what might happen if Donald Trump doesn't win. What might happen? They call January 6th an insurrection. Donald Trump right now is leading in all of the polls, even though the left-wing corporate media in the United States is telling you things like, well, Kamala Harris is now catching up and the lead is dwindling. It's not true. One poll came out like that. I believe the poll was doctored. All of the other polls have shown Trump up at least 2 points in the national average, and most of the swing states as well, by 5 points, by 7 points, by 4 points. It would be a miracle, unless something incredible happens for Donald, like he gets shot and killed this time, maybe. It would be a miracle if Donald Trump, and maybe they cheat, if Donald Trump loses this election. But what if he does? Would there be incredible unrest in the streets of America? Because the people know what's going on in the polling right now. And so for Kamala Harris, and let's say it goes like the last election where you go to bed thinking, hey, Trump won, awesome. And you wake up in the morning and no, it was Joe Biden, in this case Kamala Harris. Do you think that people would go to the streets? Do you think they would go to the streets? I think they would go to the streets. Roger Waters said something interesting. Let me just find this. Roger Waters said something interesting today on his X channel. Power to the people of Venezuela, and he made a statement I'm just pulling up for you guys now. And he's in favor of Maduro. See if I can find it. There's a lot of crazy crap going on in X right now. You see, this is the kind of thing that I wade through this every single day on all of the social medias. And it's enough. After a while, it's like, I can't. Let's see if I can find it. I got to spell it properly. Not Roger Waters. Roger Waters. Sorry for the delay here, you guys. Here it is. All right, so let's throw this up. It's interesting what he says. I can't make out Roger Waters. I mean, he just seems to flop and flip all over the place. Let me bring this up here. It's going to be a big image of his face. See if we can make it a little smaller and easier to see. We can, all right.
Elon Musk is posting anti-Maduro tweets about Venezuela and the election that Nicolas Maduro just won there. Elon Musk, this is, the same Elon, the oligarch Elon Musk. Okay, I wonder why he wants to get rid of the government that represents the ordinary people. This is the Elon Musk who sat in front row seats, probably given to him by his friend Netanyahu, the mass murderer. Well, Netanyahu sat and told his lies all afternoon to Congress. Yes, it's that Elon Musk. So I shouldn't take much notice of him if I was you. What we need is a proper, calm, quiet investigation into the election that was held in Venezuela yesterday, with no shooting guns in the streets, no calls from Mr. Musk to tear down statues of Hugo Chavez. Okay, let's just calm down, have the investigation by all means, and carry on. It's called democracy, Elon, moron.
I don't know what to make of this guy. Is he a communist? Or does he see through all of the nonsense, all of the psyops? I don't think so. Does he not understand that the neo-Marxists unwittingly, in most cases, are working with the oligarchs? with the New World Order, with the globalist Great Reset, with all of that stuff, World Economic Forum, Larry Fink, blah, blah, blah. You guys know what I'm talking about. The neo-Marxists are their army. And yes, the big tech autocrats, these guys, they're trying to take over the world, the oligarchs, if you will, for sure. America is already an oligarchy. We need for that to go away as well. And the funny thing about all of this is that in the United States and in Canada, there are anti-monopoly laws. If a company becomes too big, they must be broken up and sold off. That's just the way it works. You can't have monopolies, and none of these laws ever get used. None of them are ever enforced. And I have nothing against billionaires or becoming a billionaire. I'd like to be a billionaire myself. However, should there be a limit? And this is going to sound very communistic, but it's not. Should there be a limit to how much money one person or company can have? A high end. That's it. You can't have any more. And if so, what should that number be? Because when you accumulate wealth in ridiculous ways like these people do, you accumulate power. And when you accumulate power, you can buy off politicians. You can buy up other corporations and accumulate more power. And eventually, you become the dictator of the country that you live in, or the country that you want to control, which obviously is the most powerful country in the world. So let's all go after the United States. Everybody else is going to fall in line. What are your thoughts on that? Write it down in the comments. I want to hear. I want to hear. But the other thing I'm asking is this a test balloon psyop that's happening in Venezuela right now to see what the people will do, understanding that Venezuelans by disposition are much different than Americans? But do you think that people, and if so, would they be able to cover it up? Or are they trying to look like the good guy right now? There's a lot going on here, you guys. There is a lot going on. And it's all happening all at once, designed to keep us off balance and a little bit confused and thinking this and thinking that. And I'm throwing more confusion at you probably right now. I'm thinking out loud. I'm sorry. But it's just going so quickly that it's hard to come to any kind of conclusion because there's still more information pouring in as we speak. And here's some more stuff. Tom Renz, I'm sure you've heard of this guy. He's an American attorney. He has been fighting against these vaccine mandates and these vaccines for the past 3 years. He says they are setting up a replay of COVID 2.0. Let's go ahead and watch this interview, 4 minutes and 25 seconds.
An emergency use authorization for bird flu vaccines. Can you walk the audience through that development and the significance of that?
Yeah, this is profound, and the timing on it is so important. So you've got to understand, on June 28th, the Loper decision was made. And for the audience, in case you don't know, the Loper decision overturned something that in law we call the Chevron doctrine. And basically, in doing so, they made it a lot easier for a guy like me to sue the federal government and the deep state, the fourth branch, the administrative agencies. So I have a lot more ability to sue them now than I did before. Shortly thereafter, they recategorized, the FDA recategorized and issued and extended an EUA authorization for bird flu, basically. This is really profound, and it's a major tell. See, what I think was going to happen is the law for COVID vaccines was substantially different than the law would be for a flu vaccine. Flu vaccines have been out for a long time, and there's a lot of court cases out there that allows them to mandate a traditional flu vaccine. Now, what I think they were doing is they were going to push mRNA into the flu vaccines, which would essentially make it COVID vaccine 2.0, and then try and force the flu vaccines on people using flu vaccine law, even though it was just another version of the COVID vaccine. Because of the Loper decision, that's harder for them to push through. So now they had to essentially kind of pull out the old COVID playbook and suggest that this was another emergency use authorization situation. So what I would expect now is when Disease X rolls out, when the bird flu is, something that they're going to claim has made, some sort of a dent in the human population. They're going to try and push the bird flu vaccines in the same way that they push the COVID vaccines.
So HHS Secretary Becerra, I believe, he kind of rolled out the PrEP Act, which basically allows the FDA, right, to grant this emergency use authorization. But I think the question that a lot of people are asking, which definitely bears resemblance to, I think, the kind of question about COVID-19, since 2022, there's really only been, 11 or so documented cases or incidents, hospitalizations due to bird flu. So it just doesn't really comport, I think, with the time frame for them to be wanting to certify vaccinations, right? The data doesn't really check in terms of this becoming a public health emergency. So what do you make of the timeline on this?
Yeah, the timeline's critical, but for them to issue an EUA on these vaccines right now, when there's really no one getting bird flu has been around for decades. I mean, bird flu is not a new thing. And the idea that somehow, suddenly, it's going to jump to the human population is absurd. Now, I will say, on my other screen over here, I have right in front of me, a huge study where they are doing in the United States, on U.S. soil, gain of function on bird flu. Okay, so they're doing gain of function work, the same gain of function work that gave us COVID. They're doing that same gain of function work under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that they did that created COVID, but they're doing it on bird flu. So it looks like they're prepping this the same way that they prepped COVID, right? They do the gain of function work, suddenly, oops, it got loose, and guess what? We've got another pandemic. I think the same thing is happening. They have this, and in fact, in this particular study, which was published on NIH, this particular scientist from the University of Wisconsin reports that he has created a high-yield virus that replicates at over 10x fold better than the wild-type bird flu. 10x. So they are making it more pathogenic. They're making it more dangerous. They're making it spread quicker. They're making it reproduce quicker. They're literally doing this work in the United States now. We can expect that there will be an oops, or it will somehow, just appear in nature, despite the fact that bird flu has been around for decades and has never jumped to humans in any substantial way. And then they will have a vaccine just sitting there ready to go so that they can force it into our arms again. It will be a replay of COVID.
So I'm seeing a lot of comments here from people who are saying, I don't think that's going to happen. Come on, people have wised up. Here's the sad truth. I want you to really try to absorb this. And if you don't take it from me, then just go out someplace. Shopping mall, wherever. How many people do you still see wearing masks? They'll be coming out with a new version of the mRNA jab this fall. How many people do you know are going to get it? I'm going to say probably not as many as before, but definitely enough to keep these things coming out. Because they're not mandatory, they're still making them. People are lining up for them. Not like they were, but they are. So do you think that people won't go, oh my God, I have to keep myself safe from the bird flu too. It's jumping to human beings, can't you? There's people like that out there, and that kind of fear, that kind of outrageousness is contagious. So we still have to keep getting the word out to people. We still need to try at least to make them understand. And here's something else I want to let you guys know before we move on to this story here. And that is that there's so many people who have been trying for so very long to convince family and friends that all of the garbage that we've been living through for the past 4 years is a pack of lies. You're right, but you're also wrong if you're getting excited about it. If you're trying to tell them, you're not understanding me. If you're doing the old Alex Jones thing. You think it's okay for me to sit here and let them cut off a kid's penis? After one beer at dinner? No, you have to approach them. Like I was saying earlier in the show, you have to approach them sugar, not vinegar. Sugar, not vinegar. Be sensible, be logical. Right? No matter what the argument. No matter what the argument. You will win it if you are able to keep your calm and not argue emotionally. This is incredibly important. I cannot tell you how much. I can't even begin to tell you how much. I am going to put together a seminar, and because I'm a professional communicator, right? It's my thing. I'm going to put together a seminar for you folks. It'll be available at some point in the next month or two on shadowdavis.com. And it's going to be simple. How to speak to people to make them understand. It's going to be like a 10-step thing. That's all it's going to be. And all you have to do is watch that once, maybe twice, take some notes, you'll be good to go. You'll be good to go. You know that the audience of this show has expanded by like 1,000 times since, even more than that, since the show first began. And the reason for that is the communication, the guests, the information that we relate in a calm, reasonable way. Yeah, there's sometimes I joke about it. There's sometimes I get adamant and maybe a little bit terse about it. But nonetheless, we still need to keep getting the information out, especially if you're talking to somebody one-on-one. That's critically important. If you find yourself in a situation like a family dinner and there's 6 of you sitting there, that's not the time to talk about it. That's tip number 1. Especially if there's alcohol flowing or somebody's been smoking some doobies. Don't bother at that point, because that one person, and if they're all jabbed, that's the other thing, then you're outnumbered. But there's going to be one person that guides the attitude of the table. Let's say Uncle Bob. And if Uncle Bob starts calling you a conspiracy theorist, everybody else is going to fall into line. It's got to be one-on-one conversations. Rational one-on-one conversations. And then that person that you're talking to goes to bed that night, eyes wide open. I can't believe what Linda said. Oh my God, is this real? And then maybe that person starts to research him or herself, and they're going to find all kinds of crazy things. Crazy to them, not to us, but definitely crazy to them. Look at this guy here. This comes from cleverjourneys.com. This was originally posted by Dr. William Mackus last week. Renowned Washington pro-vaccine reporter dead at 43. Some of you are going to want to gloat. Journalist Matt Driscoll, 43, died suddenly after proudly getting vaccinated and promoting the shot through his reporting site, reporting in Washington State. Columnist Matt Driscoll, the face of Tacoma and Pierce County, has died. He was 43. Driscoll, who had been described as Johnny Appleseed of white guilt, and was also known as the Perez Hilton of Pierce County, was renowned for his supportive views on the COVID-19 bioweapon jab. More recently, it was Driscoll who ridiculed and accused Aaron Rodgers of performance art after the NFL star was canceled. No, he was never canceled. You appear on Rogan, you're not canceled, for warning people of the dangerous side effects of the jab. Matt Driscoll said on X, repeated popular conspiracy theories about COVID vaccines, blah, 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 blah. Well, now this guy has died suddenly at the age of 43. We don't know what the cause of death was, and I doubt we'll ever find out because of censorship. You know, big tech, right? Apparently, somebody writes in the comments just about 2 minutes ago that their Facebook is removing comments. Am I seeing this correctly? They're removing comments right now? During this very show, they're taking comments down? That's outrageous. Hello, Meta, you're a platform. You're not a publisher. Doesn't matter what you think. People can say what they can say. And if they're saying something illegal, that will be dealt with by the authorities, not by you. Here's a story from Breitbart. Donald Trump is blasting Google and Facebook for rigging election with shooting cover-up. This is interesting. Both left-wing tech giants were caught trying to cover up the July 13th assassination attempt against Donald Trump that saw him get shot in the ear. One man died, at least 3 others injured, not including the former president, 2 of them critically. Facebook has just admitted that it wrongly censored. I told you this last night. They were saying that photo was altered, that Trump photo, fist in the air, fight, 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 with the flag billowing in the background. They said yesterday on Facebook that was altered. They later apologized for their mistake. Anyway, Facebook has just admitted that it was wrongly censoring the Trump attempted assassination photo. They got caught. Same thing for Google, Trump says. Trump accurately wrote on Truth Social, They made it virtually impossible to find pictures or anything about this heinous act. Both are facing big backlash over censorship claims. Then he added this fact. Here we go again. Another attempt at rigging the election. And he's right about that. You can't find Donald Trump's campaign website on the first 5 pages of Google, but Kamala Harris comes up page 1, first item. The post closed with Trump asking his supporters to go after Meta and Google. Let them know we're all wise to them. We'll be much tougher this time. MAGA 2024. The Trump assassination attempt and Trump's immediate reaction to it is a defining moment in this campaign, and suppressing and censoring such a thing is the very definition of rigging the election. I would have to say that he's absolutely right. Oh, I played this on the extension last night. I'm going to play it for you guys tonight in case you haven't seen this. It was up on X late last night. Got it late last night from Matt Wallace, who says, holy shit. New footage from July 13th shows police had the building surrounded for over a minute before the shooter opened fire. Why didn't they take Trump off the stage? Why didn't they get to the shooter faster? Were they ordered to stand down? Agents already had texts about a suspicious person with a rangefinder from over an hour before. The more evidence that comes out, the more it looks like an inside job. Let's watch this video. This is from before the shooting. The video will end with the shooting starting. Let's go.
There's fucking cops surrounding this whole entire fucking building right now.
There's something going on in this building.
Instead, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a senator elected and to make sure
Oh my God.
we get back to the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America.
There's somebody in this building.
And it's not easy because we have millions and millions of people in that country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. And it's much worse. In recorded history, we're the best order. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they could do it. You guys have access to that chart, but I love it. You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? This is not going to be this is the real world. Oh, this is you guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow at the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's one of those office. That's the lowest point, and that comes right from the government services. Comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at it. That arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history. And then
Make yourself small, bro. I don't know what's going on.
Whew. That's absolutely insane. The interim chief of the Secret Service is still being grilled by Senate members. Last week it was members of the House. This week it's Senate members, and who was it? Matt Gaetz? No, Matt Gaetz is a congressman. This is actually a brutal interrogation where they actually get into a shouting match. Oh, it's Josh Hawley. All right, let's go ahead and watch this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Roki, you put your first poster, your first demonstrative back up.
Please put A up, please.
Let's make sure everybody can see it. This is the photograph, I believe, that you took, your team took of the roof, the AGR roof. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so from this vantage point, as the law enforcement who are in those windows, as they look left, they should be able to see the shooter clearly there on the AGR second floor roof. My question is, Why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper on that roof?
So, Senator, when we post up, our methodology is to look at things that can see in on our protectees, so that they can provide that coverage.
But why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper there with clear line of sight? That roof has a clear line of sight to the former president. Why didn't you put a Secret Service counter sniper there?
The Secret Service's counter sniper role is to neutralize those threats that are looking in on us from where the protectee is, not necessarily.
You think maybe you might want to revise that protocol in light of what happened here?
They were protecting the principal, and I think
the principal got shot.
Understand that, sir.
So do you think you might want to revise the protocol? Let me ask you this. Who was the lead site agent who made the decision to leave the AGR building completely outside of the security perimeter? Who was that?
Senator, I cannot give you that name. This person is operational. They're still doing investigations. They're still doing protective visits.
Have they been relieved of duty?
Senator, they have not been relieved of duty. I know their
name, by the way. Why have they not been relieved of duty?
They are still cooperating, not only being interviewed by the FBI, but also by our Office of Professional Responsibility. And we will let the facts of the mission assurance and any further investigations play out.
Isn't the fact that a former president was shot, that a good American is dead, that other Americans were critically wounded, isn't that enough mission failure for you to say that the person who decided that that building should not be in the security perimeter probably ought to be stepped down?
Senator, I think you're using the word decided, and I think we need to allow the investigation play out to include.
So who did make the decision then? If it wasn't the lead site agent, who made the decision not to put that in the security perimeter?
Senator, you're zeroing in on one particular agent. I want to find out exactly what was the entire decision process. So I think I want to be neutral and make sure that we get to the bottom of it and interview everybody in order to determine if there was more than one person who perhaps exercised bad judgment.
Well, sure. My question is, why don't you relieve everybody of duty who made bad judgment? So yeah, you're right. I am zeroing in on somebody. I'm trying to find somebody who's accountable here. And you're telling me that the person who made the decision not to include this in the perimeter has not been relieved of duty. What about the person who's in charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service? Has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed spectacularly.
As the person who made the decision to send Donald Trump onto stage knowing that you had a security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir, they haven't.
Has the person who decided not to pull the former president off of stage when you knew that, in your words, the locals were working a serious security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir. Again, I refer you back to my original answer that we are investigating this through a mission assurance. And as opposed to zeroing in on one,
what more do you need to investigate to know
exactly what the decision-making process was?
What more do you need to investigate to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? I mean, what more do you need to know?
What I need to know is exactly what happened, and I need my investigators to do their job. And I cannot.
A lot of people didn't do their jobs.
I cannot put my thumb on the scale. Otherwise,
what do you mean put your thumb on the scale?
You're asking me, Senator, to completely make a rush to judgment about somebody failing. I acknowledge this was a failure of the Secret Service.
Is it not prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days, just like you have.
Somebody to hold them accountable.
I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly persecuted?
Unfairly,
We've got people who are
we
dead.
have to be able to have a proper investigation into this, Senator.
You said earlier that you've got to make sure that your protocols are followed, and unless there's a protocol violation, people wouldn't be disciplined. I would just say to you, I don't really care that much about your protocols. I think if your protocols don't provide for the fact that when a former president is shot, when an American is killed, when other rally goers, innocent people who just showed up on the day, when they are shot at and critically wounded, if that isn't a protocol violation prima facie, you should revise your protocols.
Senator, I think this is where you and I agree. This was a failure, and we will get to the bottom of it.
Well, I hope you're going to
Sorry, I'll turn my mic back on. Holly goes on badgering to the point where it seems unnecessary. He had made his point. Everything he says from that point of the video forward is just repetition and mostly for theater. He did make some good comments there. Guys, I've got to wrap it up on social media. However, I have just been sent some video that proves that the photo of the Indian man pooping in the gas station parking lot or the convenience store parking lot is in fact real. And I'm going to play it for you in the extension on shadowdavis.com in just a couple of minutes. If you're not a member, if you're not an all-access member on my website yet, shadowdavis.com, SHADOEDAVIS.com, it really helps with your support to keep this show going. I would hate it if I had to go dark in the next couple of months because of a lack of support from you guys. I do work very hard every single day compiling information, getting guests, keeping you guys up to date and informed, and of course giving you my own thoughts about what's going on as well. So if you care to support the show, that would be awesome. shadowdavis.com, and there is all kinds of extra content there as well. The show continues after we go off the air on social media with the extension, which begins in just a couple of minutes. For those of you who are all access members or becoming all access members, I will see you in 2 minutes. For those of you who are not, I wish you a great rest of your week, a great long weekend. I'll be back on Monday night with my guest, Melanie Bennett, an expert into neo-Marxist queer theory. It's going to be a fantastic conversation on Monday night with Melanie Bennett. Guys, I will talk to you later. I love you all, and I appreciate you all. Bye for now.